I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the webinar today in regards of what's new in Eagle version 8.5. A lot of new exciting things have been added, so I hope you're able to keep up with everything that we're covering. Now, first of all, I want to give congratulations to Matt Berggren as he attended last night Ask the Engineer with Lady Yada or Lemur Fried and Pete Terone from Adafruit. It was a great show. It was approximately like 45 minutes. I had the opportunity to watch it, and it was actually really good stuff there as well. So, Matt, great job, and thanks for being there.
Remember, it's Lady Ada.
Oh, Lady Ada. Lady.
Lady Ada.
Okay. So, you know, my name is Edwin Robledo. I'm part of the Autodesk EAGLE support team, and with me today is also Jorge Garcia, part of our support team. Want to say hi, Jorge?
Hey, everybody.
You know, if you want to get some more information about EAGLE, you could always visit autodesk.com/EAGLE. And I want to put this post there because yesterday I noticed this post when we actually announced. I hope Richard is actually with us. But he made a great comment. It says, "You make it really hard to stay away." Hey, Rick, just want to give you kudos for that comment. Greatly appreciate it. Now, this is a snapshot of all the latest implementations that have been to EAGLE this year by itself. You know, Jorge, today I was counting them a little bit because I was kind of impressed. And I counted over 30 new implementations that have been done to EAGLE. On a regular basis, our cadence was approximately 2 to 3 implementations every year to 18 months. So this year by itself, we went ahead and we have over 30 of them. And today, we're actually going to talk about 5 more that have been added. So that puts us on a total anywhere between 35 to 36 brand new enhancements into EAGLE. Okay. And then let me just go ahead and review. I'm not going to really review them all because that would no longer be a webinar. That would be a full-on boot camp, most probably. So we're going to talk about what we did in EAGLE 8.5. I'm going to just go over some main screenshots, but we are going to be going live with EAGLE, and Jorge is going to be driving that for us today. Now, first thing is, how do I get EAGLE? How do I get 8.5? When you launch 8.4, you should be getting a link with some announcements there, letting you know where they actually go ahead and download it. In addition to that, you could visit our website at autodesk.com/EAGLE and visit us on our website, and just go ahead and download from there. That will be the 8.5 download as well. Now, what's new? Let's start talking about features. First of all, this is kind of a really neat feature that was demanded not so much by the electronic engineer itself, but maybe by their IT department. That's about right, huh, Jorge?
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, EAGLE, you know, it uses a subscription model for its licensing. It needs to have some sort of access to the internet. And there's some highly secured areas in which they have very strong firewalls, in which it was actually very difficult for the program to acquire the entitlement. Especially if the computer environment was not set up correctly through the control panel, by their control panel of their operating system, EAGLE had a really hard time. So now that's been solved. That's no longer an issue. Now, because the IT guy can now actually manually define the proxy settings in EAGLE. That way he could get and validate your entitlement. Now remember, you have 14 days every time you need to renew your entitlement, okay? So you could remain offline for 14 days. Now, this is one of those features.
Tell them, you know how you've been feeling about this one. Tell them.
You know, this is one of those features that I've been asking for a very long time, and thankfully now with Autodesk now running EAGLE, we finally got it. Look, you know, in the past when you were going to run a script, or if you were going to run a UOP, there was no description. You had no idea what was going on. You would get a list of UOPs. And so you didn't know what that UOP did or what that script did. You had no idea. Now that's changed. Total game changer. UOPs and scripts actually expand and extend the capabilities of EAGLE. That way the users and our developers could add more tools to EAGLE, which is maybe something very repetitive or reports like a bomb, like I have here. So now what you do is that when you run a UOP script, it actually provides you a description of exactly what it does, and this is being picked up by the script file or by the UOP directly. Okay, so Autodesk developers, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate this one, guys.
15 years in the making.
Now, there's some subtle changes that also have been done, and one of them were done on the simulation side of things. If you have not been using the simulation, you may not be able to notice this, but now in this latest version, they made it a lot easier for you to select and deselect what plots you actually want to see and not see, which ones you want to hide, which ones you want to make it visible. It was a slightly different interface, but now they've actually made it a lot easier for you to work. Now, one of the highlights of this one is the capability of actually locking traces and locking polygons. I'm not going to go much into it because Jorge is actually going to go live and actually demonstrate this. But if you have any key traces or any key polygons that you don't want to, you want to make sure that you don't accidentally rip them up, delete them, or move them, and then now you could actually just go ahead and lock them. And last but not least, the highlight of the day, huh, Jorge? What do you think about this one?
Push and shove. Ah!
It's here, guys. Finally, we made it. Push and shove is actually here. Push and shove extends the capabilities of manual routing exponentially. And this is the one we're having the most amount of fun with. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball over to Jorge, in which he's going to actually go live with Eagle and tell us exactly how all this is put together and how you work at it directly from Eagle. If you have any questions in regards of during the demonstration, go ahead and put them on the chat, and I'll take care of them as soon as I can, okay? Or Jorge or myself. I'll interrupt Jorge as we go along. So let me just go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing my monitor. Okay, let me do this. Stop sharing. Okay, Jorge, the ball is now on your court, so you'll be able to have the capability now.
All right, so let's go ahead and make sure this works. Sharing my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it. Can everybody see my screen? It should be the Eagle control panel. Should be the only thing up right now.
Give me a second. I'll bring it up now. Yeah, I see that. That's exactly what I see, Jorge. I see the control panel. That's correct.
Okay, if anyone can't see, please go ahead and put it on the chat, and we can go ahead and address it. As I was saying, my name is George Garcia. I'm a product support specialist for Autodesk EAGLE. And right now we're going to go ahead and just do a run through of these new features that have come into EAGLE. So the first one I want to show you guys is where you can set up the proxy. You go to Options, Proxy Settings. Okay, by default it's going to be using the system settings. You can also specify to use an HTTP proxy or a SOCKS 5. Okay, now those of you who have used EAGLE for a long time know that in the version 7 series there was a dialog similar to this one that allowed you to set up a proxy. However, it did not support SOCKS 5 and it was not as complete as this one is now. So thankfully we have this for those of you who are behind corporate firewalls. This is going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to use EAGLE. Now, one thing to note here, and this is a temporary thing, passwords are stored as plain text in the EAGLE-RC user file, okay? So the EAGLE-RC file, as most of you know or may not know, it is an internal configuration file of EAGLE. It's deep within the system. It was termed that this is okay because basically as long as someone can't get into your machine, then this should hold. This is only a temporary measure. We do fully expect to, in a future release, switch to encrypted storage for the password to have it hashed. So this is just for now, and in the meantime, it allows you to use the feature. So let's go ahead and open up a project. I'm going to start over here in the schematic. This is one of the example boards that comes with EAGLE. This is a TI Launchpad. It's an MSP EXP430F5529. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run a UOP, and we can highlight the differences in this new dialog. So I click on UOP. And what you guys are going to notice is that no longer do you have to guess what a UOP does. Okay, for new users, this was always something difficult. They realized the power of UOPs, most accurately guess that there probably is a UOP to do this, but good luck finding it. Often they would go on forums, and usually more experienced users would be able to give some sort of orientation as to a UOP that might perform the function.
Or you would actually have to maybe close the dialog box, go to the EO control panel, expand the UOP folder, and then highlight each UOP and get the descriptions
and then
from
figure
there.
out, yeah.
Exactly, and then remember which one it was, and come back to go and run it.
So it was not fun before. Now all of the documentation that the UOPs come with, because internally there are provisions for the developer of the UOP to write in documentation, all of that can be seen now through this dialog. So it's very easy to figure out what a specific UOP does just by going through the various UOPs. If you're in doubt as to what something does, just click on it, and usually you're going to get a really nice description of what it does, what its command line options are, all dependent on the UOP and the author of it. So thankfully we have this now. It's very easy to look up that information. Now what happens if you download a UOP and it's not in Eagle's UOP directory? Well, in that situation you click on Browse, and now you can go to any of your directories that have UOPs and you can check them from there. So like here I have my UOPs I am trying area. I can go ahead and grab any of these from here. So very helpful, makes things really easy. And you know, running it as a snap, just double click and you run the UOP.
Now there's some UOPs that are best ran by the command line, but at least you get the description, of course.
Right. Yeah, and if it is one of those UOPs that is best run through the command line or is most useful, for example, like the find UOP.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I use the most. Yeah.
Then you get all of the options for the find UOP and a really good description of them. So it's very easy to figure out, like I said, what each one does and how you can leverage them. So now let's go ahead and jump to the board. Here's where all the fun stuff's going to happen. Okay, so the first thing we want to mention is about the lock functionality. Now, for some reason, mine is lagging a little bit right now.
It says not responding, I see.
Yeah, let's give it a second. Oh, let me close this. Have the text editor open. Oh. Let's give it a second. Get back to the board.
Of course, it has to happen when we're live with a webinar.
That never fails, man.
Exactly.
I ran through this before the webinar. Everything went perfect.
I've been practicing with this for since yesterday. I had no flaws at all. As I got my screenshots ready and everything.
I wonder if the screen sharing is interfering with it.
Could it be that? Might be that program.
All right, I'll go ahead and just restart Eagle real quick.
Yeah, I think you're going to just have to just close it and restart it.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and start up Eagle again. I have a couple of Eagle icons on my desktop. Hopefully I got the right one. That's right, voice stick. Everything works perfectly until you try to show it to somebody.
You know, when your car makes that strange noise and as soon as you get to the mechanic, it stops doing it?
Oh, I hate that.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. Alrighty, so now we're back. We should be good. So let's go ahead and talk about the lock feature, okay? As before, the lock functionality could just lock components. That functionality is still available. So as you can see, I've locked that resistor. The origins rotates to let you know that it's locked. With the lock command active, holding shift and left click unlocks. So left click locks, shift left click unlocks. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, in addition to the components, you can now lock polygons, you can lock traces, you can lock holes and vias. Currently though, like in the case of polygons, if you lock a polygon, you're going to lock the whole thing. Okay, so if I click on any of these segments, the whole polygon locks. The only thing is right now, you won't be able to visually tell that it's locked. You'll only find out once you start to try to move it, and you start getting all the bonk noises, which I don't know.
Yeah, you get the nothingness. You get.
Yeah. So in that situation, the info command will make it very clear that the polygon is locked. We are working on trying to come up with some way to effectively show that it is locked. Different ideas have been entertained, but at the time of the release, this is what we had going so far. So just so you guys are aware, if you lock a polygon, make sure that that you double check when you want it to be unlocked.
That affects the delete as well when you lock polygons and traces.
Yes, when you lock something, you cannot move it, you cannot delete it, you cannot rip it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
It's locked.
It's locked. It's there. You know, something similar can be done with the vias. You can lock vias, you can lock holes. Where it really is nice and interesting is when you try to lock traces. Okay. So let's say over here. Let's say these guys. Okay, I'm going to lock these 4 traces right here. So lock, 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 and lock. And what you guys are going to notice is that within the trace now, within the segment, there's a lock. Now, very key important point to note. This lock only applies to the particular segment. So for example, I can move this segment because that segment is not locked. I can't move this one. I can't rip up this segment. I can go bonkers on any of these. It applies to the specific segment. So if you want to lock an entire trace, you have to make a group out of it and do a lock group operation. Okay? Again, to undo the lock, very easily just shift, left click to unlock. Okay, and now they're fully movable. So this comes in really handy if your style of using Eagle, you like to have big wide groups, you know, and you're trying to protect certain routes that you did previously. You can do that now. Just lock them, form the group, and they won't be ripped up. And just to illustrate that, if I go ahead and click on lock, I'll lock these 2. And now what I'll do is I'll form a group containing all of this right here. Okay, I formed a group. Activate the rip-up command. Observe the lock traces, okay? Control right-click. The lock traces stay, okay? So I'll go ahead and do a Control-Z to bring everything back. So no more accidental rip-ups or deletions when there's something that you really want to make sure is protected.
Wojtek is asking you if I could do unlock all.
You can do a group. So you group everything, activate the lock command, and then it's Control Shift Control Shift right click. So let me do it just to make sure I got that right. So you form a group. Let's say this group right here. Okay, let's just say that. Activate lock. A Control right click will lock everything here. Okay, they are locked. You'll notice the vias get the lock symbol on them also. Okay, so vias get the lock symbol as well. And then if I want to unlock everything, Control Shift right click. Everything's unlocked. So yes, Control Shift right click unlocks the group. Control right click locks it with the lock command active.
Okay.
Okay, does that answer the question, Wojtek?
Wojtek, that takes care of your question? Or did you want something like a global command that unlock everything on a design? Okay, he's happy.
Yeah, he's happy. Cool.
Yeah, he's happy.
All right, so let me make sure I unlocked. We're good there. So now to the main event, as the saying goes, to push and shove.
You know, before you move forward, Jorge, with that, just to let you know, on the lock actually affects the push and shove.
I was gonna show it.
Oh,
You ruined the
man.
surprise, man.
I'm sorry, Jorge. I didn't know. Sorry about that, guys.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oops.
So let's go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip up this trace right here, this whole thing, and then we can observe really just how functional the push and shove is right now, and what a big step it is in routing. So I'm going to go ahead and rip up, pick this one, click it again, we rip up the whole trace. Okay, so now I click on route. You'll notice that we have the new push obstacles function. This is our push and shove router. So now, if you're keeping track, we have three main modes for the routing engine. There is basically ignore obstacles, which is the old manual route, no type of assistance whatsoever. We have the walk around obstacles, and we now have the push obstacles option. Okay. Besides, you know, the loop removal and the single layer view. So let's go ahead and select push. I'll go ahead and start my trace. And you'll notice as soon as I start getting close, it starts to bump this one. Now, it's going to get to a point where it can't push it anymore. At that point, you're going to see that you get this little orange semicircle.
It's like a barrier circle. So
that orange semicircle is what's known as a failure indicator. Once you see it, Eagle's telling you in that direction, you know, as if you were trying to go through the wall, in that direction you can't push anymore. And the reason being in this case is that currently the push obstacles feature does not push vias, okay? So you can't push vias as of right now. We are going to implement that, but right now you cannot push the vias, okay? So anything that would run into a via will generate that error. Okay? So right there we're running into that via. Now, next thing. As long as you don't have any type of failure indicator, you can push a very large amount of traces, as you'll see here. So let me really get this to go like nice.
Get in there.
I had one that I could really get it to like, there we go. Woo!
Nice.
So if you guys notice, we are moving a lot of traces there. And it will only stop because if you look.
Yeah, there's a couple of vias there.
Yeah. The via is impeded from bending anymore, okay? But as long as you're not running into an obstacle, you'll notice it'll push everything. I think right now I'm pushing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, yeah, 12 to 14 lines, something like that. And I come back, and they bend back. Okay, so definitely very flexible. Now, this will respect locking. So if I hit escape at that segment, and I activate a lock, and I put the lock right here on this segment, okay? This segment is locked. That right there is now going to form a barrier where I can't push. I probably won't even be able to get much of a push on this now. And that's it. That's as far as it will go because any further attempt to push would violate the lock. Okay, so it's fully implemented to respect the lock. So let's go ahead and finish the route. Let me undo that lock. Okay, we are unlocked now. Awesome. Now we just carry on. Again, we have push active, so I can probably get some push in. Now, check this out. If I put in a via, the via will push. The via is taken into account in the pushing algorithm. Okay, so I can go ahead and push it as far as I can. Left click, now I'm on the bottom. I don't want to do that. Place that one right there. And we finish the trace. Okay, so as you guys can see, it does what it says on the tin. You know, it does the push. It will also push while routing. For example, if I was routing one of these internal traces and I changed the thickness, you would observe that that thickness would push the other traces away. So just real quick, we'll go ahead and do one of those.
Yeah, that's a really good scenario right there.
Okay, so I've pushed that one. I've ripped that trace up. Go ahead and use. Now, let's say I need this particular trace for whatever reason to be much thicker. Let's say 12. You know, let's make it even thicker. Let's do 16. Make it nice and thick. Okay. As we start to work our way through, you'll notice that everything kind of pushes as we start to make our way.
Also, this you could actually use this feature even if you don't have an unrouted trace, but you know we have the loop router. If you have it active and you just want to make a trace thicker, you can manually route an already routed trace, make it thicker, and it will actually push away the other ones that are too close by as well.
Mm-hmm. So here I'm starting to run into problems because I can't. Some of the vias are going to impede the trace from moving. But as you can see, it's responsive. I can try to find another way around. And it's going to push everything away.
It's really nice. Very neat.
So what's the main benefit? What's being solved here? Basically, you don't have to rip things up after the fact, you know? You don't have to go rip all the traces, create some room, and then go and make the trace now. It automatically will push and orient itself for you. So definitely one of the most long requested features for EAGLE. Those of you who have used EAGLE for a long time know this, and it's finally here.
Yeah, in the past you would have to use the rip up command and start ripping up or maybe move things along. And there's a combination of tools here that are taking benefit because you have your live DRC. So you know what violations you have as well. So in the past you would have to like rip it up, you know, or maybe move a trace. Hopefully it would not violate DRC. Move your trace, then run DRC, and hopefully everything works right. Now all of that is all done in one swoop. So exponentially we're reducing your manual routing time as well, right, Hart?
Definitely. You know, and looking at this now, you know, you also keep in mind that you don't have to worry about the design rules being violated. Both the walk around obstacle and push obstacle modes obey the DRC. So these pushes that were done, these are all legal. These are all still conforming to the design rules. So really, like Ed was saying, there's no guesswork here, you know. You're opening up the space that you need. All of your rules are still being followed. If you have net classes set up, those will also be respected. If you have auto set route width and drill set up. So, you know, this is a game changer for us, and we're so happy to finally be able to share it with you guys. Are there any questions? Anybody have any questions for us?
No, not yet. But I also wanted to make the comment that if you're routing to an area and it's not pushing and shoving and you don't have nothing locked, there's a really good instance that you have a DRC violation there. Yesterday I ran into an instance that I had an angle violation, and the DRC the push wouldn't push that angle because it's in a violation angle. It's not in a 45 or 90 degree angle, so it would not let me get through. So there's instances that if you notice that it's not pushing, it's just because there's a DRC violation there. So just go ahead and run your DRC in that selected area, and and accommodate it accordingly, and then go ahead, and then the push and shove should be able to work. No, I don't have any other questions right now. All right.
All right.
Okay, so I think we kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah.
We've covered in essence all of the aspects of what we've done on DRC. Does anybody have any questions for us? Anything about these features, or if you have any other questions about other features of EAGLE that we can most probably demonstrate here as well, we will gladly to if you have any questions. In the meantime, I would like to encourage everybody to participate in our very active forums that we have. We're always there. Jorge is constantly there all the time. I sporadically jump in every now and then, but we try our best to post to answer your questions as soon as we can. If not, by the next morning, we've actually take care of your questions. So if you run into any problems, you have questions about how to use it, or you have any recommendations that you like to do, let us know about it. That way we could tell our developers, go ahead, I ask you to participate in our forums and let us know all about that as well. Okay, so I don't see any questions right now, Jorge. Now, I think I just want to do a little wrap-up of what we just covered. So I think I'm just going to take the ball back, if you don't mind passing it to me, Jorge.
Do it.
Let's see.
Yeah, I stopped sharing, so you should have it back, Ed.
Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it now. Okay. And let me share my screen as well. Okay. No, I want to close this. I'm not seeing the share my screen option, all right?
Go to Quick Start. Go to the Quick Start menu and you should have it there.
Okay. There we go. Jeez. Had me do it in a slightly different area. So what exactly did we cover today? You know, throughout the year, we've had many enhancements to the actual program. Enhancements that only make your experience using EAGLE that much easier and better to use. But all of this boils down to cutting the amount of time you're going to be spending designing in EAGLE. So going to market with your product or with your project is exponentially shortened. Now, what did we cover today? We enhanced how to run UOPs and script files. I cannot stress enough how much help that's going to be for many users, especially new users that are actually taking advantage of these UOPs that we have. The capability of locking traces actually now inhibits you to run into as many errors necessary by deleting a trace by mistake or moving a trace by mistake. Now, what I need to highlight here is that to let you know that this works by segment. So it's imperative that you understand that this is going to be per each segment. So if you want to lock the entire trace that is actually quite long, you got to go to each segment. Now, they're attempting to improve on this on a later version. That way you have options of doing the whole trace of the segment. But that is right now, they're just doing the segments for now as a first starting as well. And the game changer here is actually adding the push and shove. Push and shove is imperative. Now, for when you're doing edits or updates to a design, or you have variants on a design, and you need to make some modifications either by the thickness or actually adding more connections to a design, instead of having to rip up the design or portion of the design, actually now you can plow your way into the design as well. So if there's any other questions, I think we've covered everything that we wanted to do on the EAGLE 8.4. Please join us on the forums, as we have a very active forum, and we'd like to take care of your questions. Everybody, any other questions, Jorge? Anything come up?
The one came up, but I already answered it. It was
okay.
About using change. If somebody changes the width using the change tool, will it push the nearby routes out of the way? And it won't, because the change command doesn't have.
So your best bet there is to use the route command, and make sure that you have the loop removal enabled, and then just go ahead and manually route that same trace that you have, and that will actually push the other traces along. That's correct. Yeah. On my GIF file, I have that here on in my little GIF file, that I use for my demonstration here, you'll notice that I'm using the route command, and I change the thickness. I activate the route command first. I change the thickness of the trace, and there you go. And as you can see, the push and shove works there. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your participation. Greatly appreciated. My name is Edwin Robledo from the support team, and with us today, Jorge Garcia from the support team as well. So have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Not yet. I know. Something is frozen on my machine. Something is frozen on my machine.